I can't take Jackie's motorcycle. This game sucks. I'm weary. I'm weary of all these reviewers who are getting sample copies from Nvidia and AMD and all the vendors being like, yay, RTX gaming, RTX, and they're going crazy playing all these new games, especially Cyberpunk, maxed out with RTX on. That represents about 1% of you because nobody can get these cards right now. They're not making enough of them. People are buying them, and when people do buy them, they don't even use them. They just go on eBay and scalp them. So we've got a few rich bastards who have these cards who actually can play with RTX on. But for the rest of us, we're doing raster, and we're going to do it as efficiently and on, I guess, the lowest budget that we possibly can. So let's get down to business. Thanks to our sponsor, Bob Keys. Now, Bob Keys has got Windows 10 Pro right now on sale with our coupon code TS25. You're not going to get 25, you're actually going to get 30% off until the end of December 15th, bringing Windows 10 Pro down to $12. Home is $13. And then you can get 2 copies of Windows 10 Pro for $21. And then you can also get Office for a very good deal. So be sure to use coupon code TS25 to get that 30% off. All the links are in the top of the description. And remember, it's still going to be 25% off on December 16th. But until the 15th, you're going to get 30% off. So head over to bobkeys.com and use our coupon code. We're going to do a lot. We're going to play Cyberpunk for a while with both of these GPUs. This is a 1080 and this is a 1650. They're both Zotac branded, but we're going to take a look at a few online that have a really good price point in my opinion. And we're going to put together a computer that is like the minimum spec, like $500 or less possibly, that you could possibly put together just to play Cyberpunk. We're going to look at all those specs. Then we're going to play Cyberpunk. We're going to run around the city and we're going to try all kinds of different settings with these 2 cards while I'm using MSI Afterburner to do some performance analytics, and we'll show you what the 1% lows are, we'll show you what the average frame rates are, and give you an idea of exactly how you're going to be able to play the game if you get one of these cards and a similar system like we have here. So first off, let's go through the specs of the system that we're going to be putting together. My specs are not exact. They're 99.99% the same. I'm just going to use a couple different brands here that I found online that are maybe a better value. They're on sale or something like that, but they're effectively the same parts. So starting off with the GPU, this is the Zotac. It's like the tiny little version like made for ITX. I'm going to recommend grabbing this MSI GTX 1050. It's got 2 fans. Should run very similarly, maybe a little bit cooler. And also you can get it because it's available on Adorama right now for $159. And for $159, that's a lot of GPU for 1080p gaming. You'll see how it plays Cyberpunk at 1080p in just a second. Next up, if you have a little bit more money to spend, don't go to a store and look for a 1080. Go on eBay and look for a 1080 or a 1080 Ti. People are selling these to buy the RTX cards. Let me say this next. So anyway, good luck finding a 1080. It will run the game significantly better than a 1650, but if you can find it, that's the problem. Next up for the motherboard, I really like the B450 motherboards, but just be warned, for the CPU I'm going to recommend, you're going to want to make sure that this motherboard is up to date with the latest BIOS or UEFI. If you can find a B550 motherboard and it's in your price range, go for that. For this test, I'm actually going to be using a BioStar B550 motherboard, but you're not really going to see much benefit, if any, with a B450 motherboard and the rest of the specs. The main benefit you're going to get with a B550 is if you wanted to use like a brand new M.2 or something like that. But even then, it's just bells and whistles and not necessarily any extra speed you're going to be getting. I'm going to do 2 hard drives in here because maybe we can afford it. If not, just get the second hard drive and use it as your main. It'll be slower, but right now you can get a Kingston 250 gigabyte A2000. That's about 2,000 megabytes a second. And you can grab one of those for pretty cheap if you get the smaller size 250. That'll be good for your OS. And then for the secondary storage where you're going to put all your games and stuff, because 250 gigabytes is not going to be enough for games and everything else, I like going with one of these Seagate Barracuda drives. They're $54, 2 terabytes, 7,200 RPM, really good reviews, and you can just throw all your games and media on there. For the memory, 16 gigabytes of memory is really what I like to use these days because it gives us enough to be able to multitask. 8 gigabytes is okay if you're doing 2 sticks of 4, but it's, no. I mean, it's not going to make that much of a difference in games, but at this price, $54 for this memory. This is also 3,000 megahertz. Make sure that you lock your Infinity Fabric to half of that, so 1,500, and that motherboard can do that. This RAM can do that, and also the extra speed for this price. Most of the stuff at this price range is usually around 2400 megahertz, so having that extra speed is going to be nice. When we talk about the CPU that we're going to be using in this, I really like the new AMD 3100 CPU. This is not one of the G CPUs that has built-in graphics, but it's not going to do you much good anyway. This one is, for the money, really ridiculous. You can find these for like $100, maybe a little over $100, and they're quad-core with 8 threads. So recommend these. They're easy to recommend. I mean, of course, if you can afford a fancier CPU, go for it. I mean, if you want more cores, you could grab a Ryzen 5 1600, but the thing is that's probably going to be slower in most games because it's not going to be as fast when it comes to the overall max frequency. So unless you're doing like something that needs a lot of cores, like processing stuff, rendering stuff, just no. Now for the power supply, there's a pretty good deal going on right now on Newegg. You don't need 650 watts if you're going for the little GPU here, but I like to give myself a little bit of breathing room with 650 watts, and then I'll also put the power draw right in that 80% range where I like to be, because 80% is usually extremely efficient. And if you want to deal with a bunch of bullshit, you can go over to Newegg and fill out the stupid rebate card and mail it in. Those things are great. They're kind of bullshit. I didn't realize it was a mail-in rebate until before, but anyway, it's a pretty good deal. Otherwise, 500 to 550 watts will probably be enough for this system. We're going to stick around on Newegg and look at some cases here. The Roswell SRM01B is a very small but sleek case. It's got everything you need. Everything will fit in there. Not a lot of bells and whistles. All the ports are on the top. Is there a picture of that? No picture of the ports on the top. Okay, I know the ports are on the tops. They're there. They're there. So you got your ports on the top. And there's no Type-C, but it's $25.99. How do they do that? Or you can go over onto Amazon and get a Fractal Design Core 1100 for a few dollars more. Is this free shipping? How do they do free shipping on these cases? It's got to cost $25 to ship that thing. How much of a discount are they really getting? This Fractal case is probably slightly more solid, but they're both really good. All right, so that's the computer I would put together for this. Now let's go ahead and jump into Cyberpunk and just play, see how it runs. I'm not going to state any opinions about the game right now, other than the fact that I've played it for a while and have not gotten into it yet. You know, I've played it for like 5-6 hours. You've seen me play it on stream. I'm not sold on it yet. Maybe that'll change because it's a huge game. Curious to know what you think of it in the comments, but right now let's just talk about performance with these GPUs. So I'm going to switch over to the other side of the desk and play the game. I'm using MSI Afterburner just to get some metrics here, and we'll have it displayed up here on the top of the screen. If it's hard to see, I will mention it. So right now we've got 41 FPS, and this is how it looks. Now the main thing that I'm finding that you're sacrificing when you go from like this to a machine with RTX is a little bit of the lighting, but the thing about it is that I think it looks pretty good even without RTX. In fact, on my machine that has a 2080 Ti, I'm playing without RTX because it has a grittier look. If you want like the overall like just softer, more I guess crazy illuminated glowy look with the lights, then RTX is the way to go. But I actually think the raster looks pretty good, and you get a huge performance boost when running with raster. So I'm getting between 35 and 45 FPS depending on the area that I'm in. Let's head back into the city, and then I'll show you what settings we're using really quickly. We're going to try to get it a little bit higher than this, but the thing that's nice about this is I'm not finding that it's dropping below 30, and also my 1% lows are pretty reasonable. In fact, I'll do like a little test right now after I show you what we're working with. Settings, I always run it at 90 FOV, running at 1080p. I'm not going to go higher than 1080p in this video because I don't think the 1650 is a good card to be doing that with. Over here on the graphics, so I've got my film, I'll turn my film grain on and just give it a little more grit. I like grit. I like gritty Cyberpunk way more than the neon nuevo stuff that's going on. Depth of field needs to be turned off. I don't like lens flares. It doesn't impact the performance that much, but I just don't like lens flares. I love God rays or sun rays or light shafts, but I don't like lens flare because my eyeball is not a lens. Except for in this game, it might make sense. Maybe in this game, I don't know. Anyway, I don't like motion blur either, so I got that off. Contact shadows do improve the shading a little bit, but you do have other shadows. And the facial geometry, we're going to go with Oblivion-style blockheads. I'm joking. It's even with this off, it still looks better than like something like GTA 5, even with it off. My anisotropy, I like to keep that at 16 because it gives us just little detail on the ground in the distance with a low impact on performance. Keeping my shadow message pretty low because shadows are really something that impacts performance a lot. So distant shadows, we probably can put our distant shadows on low instead of high. Volumetric fog resolution, I'm going to put on low. And the volumetric clouds, I'm going to put on medium right now, bring it down a little bit. Decals, medium. The decals are like, just like transparent blood and grunge textures that are on buildings and stuff. So we'll have fewer of those. Ambient occlusions on low, color precision's medium. Level of detail, that is the background stuff. I'm going to put that on low, see if that makes much of a difference. And then, of course, ray tracing needs to be turned off. So that's what we're working with. We can come in and tweak some of these, but mostly on medium and low settings. And the thing is, this game still looks really good on medium and low. It's not like, you know, the craziest thing ever, but like I said, it still looks better than a lot of games, even on the lower settings, in my opinion. However, still about 35, 40 FPS, just a slight improvement. I like the film grain, actually. But if you don't like the film grain, you can turn it off. Look out. Gonna go up here and bang a left. Use my blinker, buddy. Where am I from? Tell me, somebody. All right. Turn too soon. I haven't learned how to play this game yet. There we go. All right. Gotta go downtown. Still just hovering around 37, 38. I'm going to do a... All right, I'm capturing... Look out, look out. I'm doing a capture right now of the FPS, the average, and the 1% lows. See what we get. Hi, everybody. The sparks look pretty good. I'm driving like an asshole. 37 NPCs out here. I've got those turned down. If you're playing on a crazier computer, you'll also have more stuff happening on the streets, more NPCs. But we're going into town, still getting about 35 FPS, 36. It's surprisingly playable. I don't have any screen tearing, which is nice. Oh shit. Are they gonna get mad at me? Oh shit. All right, so I did a little benchmark with those settings. Here in MSI Afterburner, see what we got. Average of 66.9, that's pretty good, but the 1% lows. Now when you're indoors doing firefights and stuff, that's gonna be probably okay. But the minimum of 24, this happened while I was driving into the city. I'm pretty sure because I could feel it a little bit. So that's a little low. So let's see if we can keep it above 30 because I'm not gonna try to go too crazy with this setup. We'll try one with and without, but we're going down to low and medium on most things. But like I said, I still think the game is very playable and looks all right. Oh, I'm on the wrong side of the road. Look out. Jesus! I can feel it. So yeah, I'm not sure if the 1650 is going to be good for a lot of combat. Let's just see what happens. Let's get out our pistol. See how hard it is to aim and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Police are coming. Yeah, you can aim okay. It doesn't feel too clunky. I mean, it's a little slow here and there. All right, let's see how the FPS was during all that. So, yeah, driving around, 66.9. In the city, even on slightly lower settings, 37. Minimum 23, 1% low, 17.3. So this machine can barely play this game. Let's go ahead and just minimum it out. Min it out. What are they? Is there even a phrase for that? I'm going to bring this down to 85, the field of view, even though 90 is my favorite, but it's going to help. Low. How about some health right now? Will this guy just teleport over here? That guy's tough. All right, let's see what we got there. Okay, it's finally playable on all things low. Running around in the city with an average of 50, minimum 37, but the 1% low is 26. It's not going to feel amazing, but it is playable if you want to play it just for the story mainly. The combat's a little rough. Driving around the middle of nowhere. So yeah, the 1650, I'm going to say good for low to medium if you're okay with the game feeling a little rough around the edges and looking a little rough around the edges, but at least you'll be able to play it and enjoy it and not have everything spoiled by everybody posting on social all the time on everything from Reddit to Twitter to whatever else you use. It's probably posted there. So yeah, should I try a 1080? Let's see what a 1080 can do. Right, we currently have a 1080 in here, and we're getting 108 FPS. Let's go ahead and crank up some settings to medium just to see. I'm going to put it on medium. Don't like lens flares. Alright, that's good. I like my film grain, but this is all up to me, you know. So just a setting of medium, and then we'll come and tweak them as we can. Medium, we're getting 76 FPS out here, running around with the 1080. So 1080 definitely plays the game quite a bit better. Let's do a benchmark. I want to see what the 1% lows are and everything. Okay, we got us a busier area here. Who taught you that? Who taught you that to walk? These walking animations. See how it runs. 47. Do a little benchmark and just see what our 1% lows and stuff are. I like to go down here where all the people are and stalls and lights and everything. 46. Punch your... Yeah, come on, you want some? I'm coming for you. Where'd you go? My busy area, lots of combat, lots of lighting, stuff going on. 1% lows, 23.4. Minimum was 31.4. So I might want to turn that shadow back down, but it is quite playable on medium with a 1080 and somewhat playable at 1080p with the 1650 on low. So 1080 is of course much better, but either one of them, I mean, you can still play with the 1650, but if you can get a 1080 or if you already have a 1080, go ahead and play it. It works fine. All right, so as you can see, it's pretty difficult to run this game. And you know, it's the end of the year. People like to chill, and if you have any time off for one reason or another, it's nice to like chill and play some games. And if you're really in the mood to play something Cyberpunk, but don't want to spend full price on the game right now, or just want to wait for it to get patched, or maybe it's just not your thing. Like, CD Projekt Red games for me are usually a little bit too brooding and serious, and it almost becomes comical at some point because I like quirkier and weirder stuff. So even The Witcher I thought was a little bit too brooding for my taste, even though I love exploring the world, and that's what I'm looking forward to in Cyberpunk. But if you're someone like me and want something a little different, well, let me make a couple of recommendations for other Cyberpunk games so that you can be playing Cyberpunk while everybody else is playing Cyberpunk as a genre, not the game. I wish they hadn't named it Cyberpunk. It makes me angry because now you can't Google anything with the word Cyberpunk without a bunch of game stuff coming up. Damn you, CD Projekt Red. Buy on GOG to support them, by the way. Anyway, so over on GOG, speaking of that, Blade Runner, that old Blade Runner game, is a really compelling click adventure game that allows you to basically go through the plot of the Blade Runner movie, not necessarily the book, but they did pull some stuff from all angles. And it's a really good game. It's a click adventure, so you have to go from point A to B and you do things in a linear order, but it's also a story, so you're playing through a really cool story with some good acting. So there's that. Then going back even farther to one of the first Cyberpunk click adventures is Beneath a Steel Sky. The graphics are very old and the gameplay might be a little bit too much for some people out there, but it's a cool story and it's a lot of fun. And then to the father of all, this is all retro stuff, but the father of what I want to call Cyberpunk immersive simulations, Deus Ex. Yes, just buy it. I'm not even going to go into it. It's the best game. That's it. It's the best game, and you have to play through the first maybe hour of the game before it really starts to, get you, because the first part of it's a little bit like, what's going on here? So, yeah, that's going to be my recommendation. I'm going to go back and play a little bit more Cyberpunk, see if it can hook me. And if not, I'll probably come back and play some of this. I don't know. All right, there's one other game on Steam that's been in development for a long time. I think it was mostly one person working on this. It was finally released as its own standalone game, but it was a source mod for a long time, and it's called G-String. Yes, it has nothing to do with what you put on, you sexy beasts sitting there at your computer chair.
No one can see your G-string with your fat gut hanging over it.
But that's okay. This game has nothing to do with that. It's just a Cyberpunk game, and the story aside, aesthetically, I think it's more interesting to look at than Cyberpunk because there's, I think, more of an art direction and less of just what's the art direction in Cyberpunk? Well, Cyberpunk and cool and a little bit of Miami. Throw it in a box and shake it up. That's kind of what I felt like they did. This one feels a little more like what you would consider like a Neo-Tokyo vibe. The story, maybe a little... nope, I'm not going to give it away. Nope, you got to play it. But if you want something else to play that I think is really cool to look at, it's also pretty linear and stuff, so you can play it in a couple of sittings. But check that out over on Steam. Anyway, that's the end of the video. head over to epicpants.com. We do have those new Cyberpunk t-shirts on the site. They're getting better ratings than the game is, believe it or not. Yeah. Actually, the game was based on those t-shirts. They saw them and they were like, Cyberpunk, we should make a spoof on that. And they made Cyberpunk. This is true. All right, subscribe, or I'll come to your house and shave your left foot while you're asleep and cover it in butter. So every time you're walking, your left shoe just goes flying all the time, and you're going to be so upset. But you'll subscribe, so that won't happen to you. So I'll see you later. Bye, everybody. We'll see you in the words.